2019 has really done a number on us,
Right.
and to be there on an awards evening. But look, the way they quickly went through it, and also getting a response from all the winners. I think for me, organizers, they deserve some credit for how they pulled this off, because at the end of the day, we need to reward excellence. We need to reward excellence. And I mean, the coaches have spoken, the players have spoken, the judges have spoken. In this case, journalists, ex-players, because it was not just journalists who were voting. Also, ex-players were there voting as well.
Right.
So I think, yeah. And also, I mean, you're not going to satisfy everyone with awards, because if we were to call everyone around the country and we're asking for who they voted for, it will be different. But I think for me, I agree with the choice of the awards tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say no real surprises. To be honest, I actually think it was probably one of the first award ceremonies where I think every award was pretty much deserved. Maybe one or two people could have won. Like I thought, like Ronwen Williams, Bradley Grobler for the MTN8. If either of them had won it, I would have been happy.
Right.
But Bradley scored the goal that won.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I mean, already there was some controversy coming into these awards tonight, and maybe attempts by the certain treble-winning team to claw some comments back from earlier. But Velile, it started with that furore around, what seemed like, hey guys, go get the message from Mamelodi Sundowns, and then ends up not, extending that good luck message to their previous coach in Pitso Mosimane.
Yeah, I thought that was classless from Sundowns. I remember the other day when Kaizer Chiefs, when the nominees were out and Kaizer Chiefs put out their nominees for these awards, they included Coach Ernst Middleton, despite the fact that he's already left the club, because he's earned the nomination whilst he was doing the job at Kaizer Chiefs.
Sure.
I mean, it's that simple. This thing, yes, Sundowns. That's what they should have done. And what do they do now? Because of the reaction they got earlier, this is only now that But I'm not surprised. If you've followed the story of Coach Pitso in Sundowns and some of the things he's been saying about that club, I for one, I tried to interview a player. About Coach Pitso, and he told me that he can't give me a comment because they've been told not to say anything about Coach Pitso going to Al Ahly. And I thought that was very bad. That was very bad. And I could feel for the player. I could feel for the player because this is a time when that player was brought to Sundowns by Coach Pitso. But you see, some of these things happen. This is football, so I'm not entirely surprised by that thing. In fact, it can go to even other lengths. People telling you that anyone who says anything about Coach Pitso will face the TC.
Wow, that's crazy. That is insane. I mean, we're dealing with a coach that won a club a treble that we're celebrating this.
I don't want to lie to you. Ever since I got that comment from the player, and I felt I was going to be unfair to the player because I could tell that he wants to say something.
Sure.
But I also didn't want to put him in trouble.
No, fair enough.
I think it also takes away the human element. The fact is that a lot of the time coaches and players have different relationships. Could be like father, son, brothers. Could be all sorts of relationships. And I think you take something away from the player by not allowing him to comment about whether good or bad. And I also think it takes a bit of the shine away from Sundowns' triple win. He was a big part of it.
No, for sure. Okay, well, let's then talk about what kind of seemed to happen as far as the dynamic with, some people looking, to your point, Velile, where you won't be able to please everyone. Goalkeeper of the season? I mean, how do you feel about that one? Some people thinking that after all the pressure he was under Daniel Akpay, he came in to take in that #1 jersey at Kaizer Chiefs, helped them get close to winning the league title. Made some very crucial saves throughout the season until he got injured. And, it's just like, what more? Does it mean he should have won the league to have won that award? Because it wasn't even the league-winning keeper who won the award. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, well, if there's a barometer to check who deserves the goalkeeper of the season, one of the first things that you look at, one of the first things that you look at is the clean sheets.
For sure.
And Ronwen Williams, 13 clean sheets this
13,
season.
Yep.
And also you must also check the number of super saves that the boy makes. Super saves that he makes in the game. So I think for me, it was a difficult award maybe to also judge. So him getting the award, I seriously can't begrudge the people who voted for him.
Sure. Rob, same thing?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I don't think any goalkeeper said, wow, look at me this season. I mean, if we think back to when like Itumile and Kune won all those awards years ago, everybody noticed Kune. There was no one who could compete with him. And I thought all three of the nominees were very consistent this year. But I do think Ronwen deserved it. I think sometimes the attention goes on the clubs, the goalkeepers at the big three, and especially when they're challenging for leagues. But I thought Ronwen was not only very consistent this year, I thought he's come of age as a keeper. Mm-hmm. And also, let's not forget, he took over leadership halfway through the season. And I thought he improved as a goalkeeper at that point as well. So, I think it was a deserved award. You want to win the goalkeeper of the year award? Make me go, wow.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, Gilbert Mutivi, that's your conversation starter that we got from you from YouTube. Guys, you can interact with us and make it a two-way conversation as I just bring you some of the highlights in terms of who were some of those winners. And these two gentlemen reckon that a lot of these names that I'm going to mention now, they were, agreeing with them or had marked them to win these ones, with MTN8 last man standing being Bradley Grobler, the TKO player of the tournament, Gaston Sereno, Kiletsa Magalwa being the Nedbank Cup Young Player of the tournament. You've got player of the tournament being Victor Letswalo for the Nedbank Cup. And then there was also recognition, like I said earlier, of what had been happening in the Glad Africa Top Championship, with the goal scorer being Abednego Mosiasaka, his 18 goals for Ajax Cape Town, making him the top goal scorer. Then, we've spoken about Ronwen winning the keeper. Rasheen de Rijk, defender of the season. Midfielder of the season, Themba Zwane. You've got young player of the season, Goodman Musele. And then, of course, the player's player being Themba Zwane. But, gentlemen, I mean, you saying that as far as that list is concerned, it didn't surprise you. Someone wants to know, though, is the criteria of the awards based on trophies, teamwork, or individual brilliance? Or do you think it kind of differs for when it's the league versus one of the knockout competitions, in terms of how it's assessed as to who's the top player? What would you say are the criteria are, Velile?
I think you must find the criteria for each award. Each award has got a different criteria. You understand? So I don't want us to to come up with hearsay here, but obviously one of the things is that you must have played a certain number of games. Most of the time it's 70% of the matches, and also you must have excelled throughout the season, and I think for me, because the awards Mshishi, the players have voted for Mshishi. Sure. The coaches have voted for Mshishi. Sure. And the judges who are judging one award where Mshishi won, the midfielder.
And we voted for Mshishi.
Safja voted for Mshishi.
Yeah. The consensus was Mshishi.
Yeah. So are we really saying the players, the coaches, the judges in the PSL, the journalists who voted for Mshishi, by Andringa, like, Eh?
No. I think some people will agree with Mshishi. Like, Pumlani Rafael Mkonza says Zwane deserves everything that he got today. But they do feel sorry for the likes of Anukovic, who, by all intents, had a stellar season. And
It's,
there was
it's the
nowhere.
unfortunate part. It's the unfortunate part,
Right.
He's Kaiser Chiefs player of the season. No doubt about
sure.
it.
Yeah.
For me, he was the club's player of the season.
But to be
and he
top
couldn't even
two
have.
for the whole season,
but
Rob,
the issue is that Nukovic in his first season, great season, But there was even a better player, Mshishi, in this case. You understand? And unfortunately, that's the situation we've been seeing, even in global football. You have Messi, you have Ronaldo.
If you win the league, you win.
Exactly.
That's how you.
And you'd feel that, hey, this one deserves to win the Ballon d'Or, but there's one of them. So, but in this case, look, yes, there are awards where you'd feel that, hey, this one was very tight, like the defender of the season, Russian Derek or Madisha,
Right.
But also, Russian winning, you can't really go against that.
Sure. Standout.
Yeah.
Standout season.
The boy has had a great season.
Sure.
So yeah, because and also sometimes the arguments sometimes are always also based on affiliation. So I try and steer clear of those kind of arguments.
Okay. And I think there's some awards that the player just won it because he was the best. Like when I think of the Telkom knockout this past year, Gaston Sereno is the only person I can remember, not only for his match-winning performances, he also got the red card in the semi-final. He was that Telkom knockout. So when I looked at that, it was I think it's 5 goals in 4 games. He was two braces. And he got an assist in the final.
He had a good disciplinary record in that Telkom.
Right.
And if we were talking about a Sereno who's had a great season, not only through playing, but also even when it comes to the boardroom side as well, it would be a different case. You understand? But unfortunately, the disciplinary record is also part of the criteria of the awards. And we cannot steer clear of that.
Sportsmanship, I guess, in the end,
Yeah.
An important tenet of that. In terms of speaking about a player's contribution, Tlhompo Kekana Kabelo Kachedi would think he feels a little sorry for Tlhompo. Most of the Sundowns players win this award based on their contributions. That's coming in from YouTube. Remember, guys, you can subscribe so you know when we go live with one of these again. And, of course, when we turn around the stuff from the new TV show that's happening on Soweto TV. What do you think? Tlhompo Kekana's name, he's been what? It's the 5th year running that he's been nominated. And, I guess it's a case of let the other kids have a chance.
That's Rob's man,
Yeah, I feel bad. But, the truth is that Tlhompo has been the PSL player of the last decade when it comes to consistency.
Right.
But the thing is that unfortunately, he's always going to have somebody steal the limelight because he's not going to have the most assists. He's not going to have the most goals. He's never going to have that. And somebody is always going to trump him in that regard. I really do think he should have got the Chairman's Award every season. But the thing is that it's the unfortunate thing. I mean, to be fair, Tlhompo's been like this since he was at Black Leopards. When he went to SuperSport, I think he was club's player of the season there. When he was at Celtic, he was the club's player of the season. And at Sundowns, I mean, he's rewritten a lot of history at the club.
Right.
I think personal accolades, I personally don't think they mean that much to Tlhompo. I think he gets a lot of joy from the game already. I think he knows by being nominated all these years just how much people respect him.
No, for sure. And I guess, guys, he won the APSA Premiership goal of the season. So it's not like he walked away totally, empty-handed. There's still...
I hear you, Kamza. I hear you, but... the biggest awards on this night will always be the players' player of the season and the football of the season. So I really feel bad. I really feel bad for Shompo, you know. I think if I remember very well, the last time a holding midfielder won this award, I think it was during the time of Tinashe Nengomasha, if I remember very well, you know. So to see, because most of the time it's always attackers, you know. It's always attackers,
right.
Going for this award. So I just feel bad. I thought he's been deserving something in the last 5 seasons in particular. But look, I think if you go all over the world, this type of an award most of the time, it's always a reserve for attackers by those who are judging. And like I was saying, in this case, players player of the season, football of the season, coaches, players. Who are we?
The players themselves are the ones who are making the decision. And in terms of the match officials that won, it's a strange award. I mean, you know, we have to kind of recognize their contribution to the game. And it was Jelly Chavani and Sean Olive who won the referee of the season and assistant ref of the season, respectively. And, you know, I guess it kind of dovetails nicely, Rob, with the, you know, talk that Danny O'Donnell was saying in terms of just, you know, professionalizing things and making sure that, you know, everybody kind of gets paid their due and so that excellence can be brought to the position. And, you know, there we go, acknowledging it. It's just kind of, it's an upward trajectory, it seems.
Yeah, I think the officials' awards are always difficult to give because there's always going to be some coach or some club who's going to say, but that's the guy who didn't give us a penalty. So it's always going to be hard. But to be fair, I've actually watched, they're both quite young and have seen them work their way up in the Glad Africa. And I've been impressed with both of them. Actually, to be fair, I think Mr. Chavani could even be a little more, a little stricter. I think he sometimes lets things go, which is also good because he lets the game flow. But I actually, to be fair, they have been two of the better officials in an industry where every single match I've ever watched in football, I've heard someone complain about. No one's ever happy with the officials completely.
No, for sure. But yeah, no, we have to show that there is confidence in what they're doing. We've got one here from Chris the Solution saying, yeah, it's always attackers. I remember one season Serrero won everything and Jali had a great season that year. So there does seem to be this favoritism. It's not even just here, globally, is that, you know, you score a lot of goals.
Yeah, I will tell you about another award tonight in the Nedbank Cup. You know? Kelotso Maghalwa won the most promising player of the tournament. You know, but if you check Kelotso Maghalwa, in most of those matches, he started only one game. You know, in the 4 matches they played, in 3 games he came in as a sub. You know, yes, he scored crucial goals, and some of those goals took Sundowns through to the next stage or contributed to Sundowns progressing.
Yes,
but here you also had Sifiso Ngobeni, who was started all these games.
And how good was he? How good was Sifiso Ngobeni?
You know, and he was excellent not only in defending but also in the attack. You understand?
Right.
Now you also have another classic example of a defender versus an attacker. You know, an attacker who was not always there. You are not always there. Only comes in a certain time. Scores, you know. So, but
well, it takes us back to the criteria thing. What is the criteria then, really? Because you're saying that, like, then if we're saying there's a case for criteria, what was the criteria that led to that win?
No, but if people look at the awards and they want to catch the stats, people will look at the stats and they will see Maghalwa having scored 3 goals. You understand?
Yes. And I guess coming in as a sub, it would look like quite a high rate of a goal per whatever minutes. So, I mean, even then it looks even more.
But also, this is the cup. If you look at the goal he scored against Highlands Park, it's a goal that takes the team through to the next stage.
That's what I'm saying. That
You
like
understand?
the point about the criteria. So that he's ticking all these boxes then.
Yeah. But
I also think this year has been very difficult because of with lockdown and things like that, because of television. You know, when I go watch a live game, I'm not following the ball all the time. So sometimes my eye will be, I've been so impressed by Sifiso Ngubeni. I can't wait to watch him live. I want to see what he's doing off the ball. I want to see what he's doing. Yeah, and unfortunately on television we're watching the ball.
Sure.
So you don't get to see defenders, things like that. So in judging, the truth is that on television, Mkhalwa will deserve the award too, because he's going to have been on the ball a lot more. So it's a very difficult year to give, especially, I mean, Nedbank Cup, the last few rounds were on television only.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's how we have to judge. So sometimes the criteria is also what we see, you know. But I do thought that was a tough one. I think I'm also I'm a lefty. I love left backs. Ever since I think ever since David Nyati, I've been obsessed with left backs in South Africa.
Yeah.
And Sifiso Ngubeni really is exciting.
Yeah, and also we're not doing very well in that space. If you look, honestly, after David Nyati, maybe yes, we're fortunate to have the late Jacob Lekgetho.
Seppo Masilela until his injuries.
To also have Bradley Canel. And after those two, Bradley Canel and Jacob Lekgetho, then came Seppo Masilela, you know.
Right.
For me, one of the best left backs we've had. So, and when you look out of these four, including David Nyati that we've counted, especially at Bafana level, we've not had an excellent left back who can be counted amongst these guys.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really hoping that this boy he can get good guidance. It's also still early. You know, Gavin Hunt, I spoke to Gavin Hunt yesterday, and he was saying something very important. To say, in South Africa, we are also too quick to praise a player. You know, we praise a player for playing well in 5 to 10 matches.
Sure.
You're saying, let's see a player performing over a season, even going to 2 seasons, and showing consistency.
Yes.
You know, so we must look at this at these things, the consistency. If he goes, I think he's definitely gonna be on a plane to Saudi Arabia next month with under 23, where they play against Saudi Arabia. They also play against Egypt. In the same tournament, there's Brazil, but unfortunately, because of the dates, they will not be able to play against Brazil. Brazil will only play Saudi Arabia and Egypt. You know, so let's see how he also performs there in the under 23 setup. In the national team, and also if he makes a big move as well, can he continue to deliver? Because definitely even the coaching, in terms of even the challenge when you're playing amongst the top players, the cycle will change as well, you know. So, but he's got all the attributes that make up a top left back, maybe more of a left wing back. For me, I think I must say that you could see also the availability of Fumbunzai this past weekend in that defense of Celtic. It also allowed him the freedom to make those foreign runs up front.
Okay, no, fair enough. Rob?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm kind of the same about giving players a chance to make their mark on the league first before we get too excited. Except he's a left back, and he's really exciting. And I found myself doing the thing that I always say: now let's give like for example, our young player of the season, Goodman Musele. He's been my young player of the season for 3 years almost. You know, because of that consistency that he's now shown, and he fully deserves for that award. For me, was Baraka's best player this season,
right.
And at his age, he's showing this more senior guys how to be consistent, and I thought he was like that last year already. So it's nice to see him getting the attention. I'm also really surprised he's still at the club, because he's a 20-year-old with 3 years of experience behind him, and has shown a lot of maturity for someone his age.
No, for sure. You're right. And I think that's, it's good for us to mention these names so that we can keep them front of mind and track their progress, like you say, as far as consistency is concerned. And then one person brought up this point that usually the Football of the Season award winner tends to get overseas offers. For Mshishi, is that European ship, has it sailed? I mean, is it something that he could still look at doing if someone comes calling? Or, does he stay at what is a very, comfortable environment where he can still go on to win more things?
Yeah, look, how old is Mshishi now? 31? 30 or 31,
Yeah.
Somewhere there. So, and also, I'm not sure if he's really one who's looking for that move, And remember, at Sundowns, if has to be a European move, the offer has to be very good, because they are being taken, they are being well taken care of there at Sundowns. So, look, and you cannot tell me that with all the performances had, there's never been offers,
Yeah, sure.
But have they been worthy offers? I don't know. We know that Coach Pizzo Coach Pizzo has always been clear about Mshishi, and I think even now, like in the same way I was saying the other day when people were talking about Al Ali and and Sereno, I said forget. Because Sundowns always has this thing that they will never sell their players to rivals on the continent.
For sure.
Because they compete on that space. For the past few seasons, they've been regulars in either in the top 8 in the quarterfinals, that is, and also in the semifinals of the Club Champions League. So yeah, there could be interest, but as to whether it's a strong interest that can lure him away, I'm not sure. And is he also showing that hunger to move overseas? I'm also not sure.
Yeah, I listen. I'm a big fan of Mshishi, and I have been for many years. But to be honest with you, he's always disappointed me because I was a big fan. This season, he played to his full potential, but he's had this potential since he was in his early 20s. I think you might remember Clive Barker years ago describing him as the next Dr. Kamalo. But I don't think he's quite lived up to that. I think if he was in his early 20s, that was when he really needed to be playing at this consistency level. But it was also difficult to get the selected as consistently in the team. I think, unfortunately, Mshishi is one of those guys who's going to be a South African star. We will have players like that. Klompo is like that. The truth is that, like I said earlier, I thought Klompo, when he was at Supersport, I think Klompo was when Klompo went from Black Leopards to Supersport, that before he went to Celtic, he could have gone overseas at that time. And I think he would have had a good career. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen for everybody. It's not that easy to go to Europe anymore. They want young players, and especially in the bigger leagues, you have to have impressed. We're not in the world's eye. You have to go to Belgium. You have to go to Sweden. You have to impress there. That's 2 years. You have to go young if you want to make it. Maybe Mshishi, Saudi Arabia, one of these countries, maybe he has one big payday. They don't necessarily mind age as much because their contracts are shorter. But I do think the European dream, I don't know necessarily if he ever had it. If he had, I think he might have shown that hunger when he was 21, 22.
Okay, no, for sure. Now, Kabelo Kachedi on YouTube is coming through. He says, PSL Awards don't serve its purpose. Anyone of awarding those played important roles in their teams. I think he's saying, how come they don't look at that? How come Sipho Mbule of SuperSport United was not on the list of young player of the season? And I guess that's why we have the whole thing about the clubs kind of, then saying, hey, to that Asipombule, that you've done well this season. If the club makes recognition of it, it's a good place to start, and eventually you'll get into the reckoning for the big awards. But we have to, you can't nominate everybody, but his own club have said that, and his teammates, he was the Players' Player of the Season at Supersport. So that surely should count for something and should be enough sometimes.
Yeah, no, I think we must be clear here. The criteria for Young Player of the Season in the PSL, in these awards, you must have been under 21 at the beginning of the season. So Mbule is over 21.
Right. He's 23. He's 22 actually. Yeah. So.
And also, we don't know how many votes he got. I remember people asking us with the SAFCHA Awards, how come these 3 guys are nominated? Well, we had 16 people nominated. Yeah. Those 3 just got the most votes. And sometimes it comes down to,
Rob, we must also be clear that in that top 5, Mango missed out by only 1 vote to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
Serino missed only by 2 votes to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
So it's not like if we're saying we have a top 7 or top 6, one of them would have been in, but we had to have a top 5. So like Rob is saying, we had 16, and it's not like also as journalists you find that no. And we're all voting the same way. No, we all also have different, even, you must have seen, in fact, even the last one, even from the nomination, it was always Mshishi Nukovic, just for the nomination. And then even for the votes, it was Mshishi number 1, Nukovic number 2, but the margin, you could tell that, look, more than 70% of the people who voted felt that, I think, Rob, it was not 7%, I think 60%, 60%.
Yeah.
And I felt Mshishi deserved it, so yeah.
It's whenever I have to make up these lists of the young players to watch for the season, there's always too many to add to a list, and I feel bad cutting people, and I end up making up my own criteria, like, okay, well, they have to have played in this many games, they have to be this age, and it's the only way, because the truth is that, yes, every now and then you're going to have somebody stand out, like that he's the only person you can see, but the most part, football is about opinions. One person picks a man for the national team. One person wouldn't pick him for his club. There's certain players who just, you either like them or you don't. And there's some players everybody likes, and there's some players who are polarizing. And that's what's kind of magic about the sport as well.
No, for sure, guys. Before I let you go,
but another point I wanted to, especially when it comes to the young player of the season. Interestingly, that's one award I know very well, because I think there was a time when I was voting. I voted 3 years in a row in that category. Maybe the people who were making up these things, they thought, okay, this one, he follows youth football a lot, which, okay, I'm fine with it. But one of the challenges that we're having there, I would say I was not there this year. I was not voting for that award. But one of the challenges we've had previously with that award was that you find that there were not enough players, under 21 players, who were being played in the PSL by the coaches. And even those who were playing, you'd find that they play less number as compared to the required number. You understand? At least with Goodman, I think he played over 25 matches. And I also think with even when I look at some of the other players were nominated there, the other one had 14 matches. I think the other one had 22 matches, So at least maybe through this introduction of the MDC, we've seen more players being played now who are under 21. Because one of the other challenges is to end up just coming with an award. You give it to this player just because there are no competitors, you know. So it's been a challenge. But look, last year when I was part of it, and Mabiliso won, he deserved the award. You know, he thoroughly deserved the award. But at the same time, you also had gift links as well. I felt, you know what? I like gift, but you know, you will have this boy. I think was 18 or 19 at the time, but regular left back for Amazon. So he had to get out. So I think with that young player of the season, it's been my only challenge in previous seasons that young players, coaches seldom field young players in the league. But I think now things are different, especially if you look at the recent bubble and how things have started even this season.
Well, that's, I guess, on that note, let me ask you if you guys can kind of be mystics about it and tell me who, provided they get enough game time, can be a young player to have a breakthrough season. Velile, go look into your crystal ball. And you too, Rob. Obviously, people are already raving about the likes of Blom. You've got people that will look at Chiefs side and look at the words of Gavin Hunt when he says if they're, good enough, they're old enough. Who do you think could have a breakthrough season in this first campaign of the DSTV Premiership? Let's start with you, Vin.
Rob.
Throwing the back. It's an interesting one because had you asked me in August, well, actually, you could not. If Wits hadn't been sold, there were a bunch of guys there who looked really good, who I thought would actually step up. Now, some of them have moved to other clubs. Supersport has a very young team, so there's quite a few players from Supersport. But the thing is that I'm really interested in the ones who we might not have seen before. There's a young boy named Gudeman, who's just been promoted at Cape Town City, who I've heard really good things, and I've been very impressed with the little I've seen of him. If he gets given a chance, I think he's the type of player who's going to make an immediate impact. Just an exciting footballer. There's at Supersport, I like the Mpo Matabula from Wits and Keenan Phillips from Wits. But I also think that Luke Vleers has already stepped into the place, and I think he's going to be really important. And he could actually be the standout young player, 21 and under, because they've got some very old centre-backs there, and they're going to need Luke. So I have a feeling he's going to get a lot of football, and he got a lot more last season already because those legs were getting old already. And Clayton and Bongani are not spring chickens anymore.
No, for sure. That's true. They do need a bit of but Caetano Tembo is kind of managing that whole regeneration process quite well. Velile, your picks?
Well, my picks, definitely if he gets game time, enough game time at Sundowns, Promise Mkuma. In only 5 matches in the bubble, I think we've seen what he can offer at this level. We've always known him to be an excellent player at youth level. And also, I think one of the other things that are going to drive our boys is the competition for places. The competition for places in the Olympic squad is going to drive young players this season. We're having very strong competition. So, and also with the challenges that Kaizer Chiefs find themselves with, I think a player like Mshini Ngobo as well, it looks like he's going to get enough game time. This season, we saw him having a good game last week, and also I think he's the long-term injury that he comes from is going to be a different player now. And I'm interested to see also what's going to happen with the Sibonelo Gaxa. Comes from AmaZulu, he's just signed with Cape Town City as well. Top player as well. And also Maduna, at AmaZulu. The boy has impressed me. He was also very good in the bubble, and I think we must. I think he played 22 matches. He's the one who played 22 matches this past season. But also, we must also remind people that these awards were not based just on the performance in the bio bubble.
Sure.
No.
Actually, both those guys who got nominated.
The awards look at throughout the season. You understand? Because for me, it's a pity that the performance that we'll remember of Andile Jali is the performance from the bubble. But if you remember before the bubble, surely Andile Jali would walk into any midfield nomination for the season. He was having a great season in the midfield for Sundowns, especially in the Champions League as well, So it's a pity that around the bubble, maybe even off the field, maybe he was not focused enough, and it affected him a bit. But so those are some of the players I'm really looking forward to see this season. But also, as I've said, it also depends on the game time that the boys will be getting. And look, there are other new boys who've been promoted to different teams. And
Sure.
I expect some of them, because at the beginning of the season, last season, all of us, or most of us, we didn't know about Sfisongo Beni. Went to Celtic on trial after having left the Sundowns Academy some time ago, and is the top of the town currently. But can he do it again this season after a stellar performance last season? Well, in the one game that he's played so far, doesn't look like he's stopping.
Sure.
So let's see.
Let's see.
I think both those other two nominees, it's going to be interesting, Hlungwane and Maduna, because if they get game time, they both have a lot of potential to actually win the award next season. I think Hlungwane, being a young striker, is incredibly exciting. And the only problem is, of course, Maritzburg have signed Meza, and AmaZulu have announced all these new signings. So it really is going to depend on game time. That is going to be a big thing with some of these young players, that they need to make sure that they're number one, and those guys who've just been signed are challenging them.
Good luck to that in the league that's facing and looking to get results at the cost of anything. I mean, I hope it's done in the right spirit, and it's done on the back of who trains the best and is looking the best, and can do the job the best for the club.
So there was no doubt about the coach of the season.
Of course not. Of course, there's no doubt.
Okay.
You know the trend. Win the league, you win the gong.
Yeah. But did you notice Sundowns didn't nominate Coach Pizzo? In fact, sorry, they omitted him from the nominees.
Yes, earlier today. Yes,
and he got the chairman's award.
Yeah,
Yo,
not good enough.
Yeah,
that you won,
no.
But good enough for the...
No, the thing is, I've kept this thing of this player I spoke to, and I would like to protect him. I've kept it, and I was like, yo, I cannot believe this. I mean, a coach is like a father figure to players. You understand? So if now you are even gagging players from wishing their coach well, this thing is like, tomorrow Coach Pizzo is going to qualify and proceed to the final of the CAF Champions League. You know what I mean? Are you going to wait until they win the Champions League and then you congratulate him? Like they congratulated him now that after he won this thing.
just before we got on there, yeah, they decided to finally come up.
No, we must do better, man, Paputi.
No,
Spirit of Ubuntu.
no, you're right.
That's what makes it.
No, you're right. You're right. Gents, last question, because people seem hella confused, and there seems to be a lot of distrust of the process for the criteria and the choosing of the players. People are asking who gets to peruse these votes once the voting is in progress. How are they audited? How transparent is it? So I don't know, like Velile, having been part of the process with the young player of the season. I mean, what is it? It's just a blind list. You do it via email, or you pop it in a box, or what's the procedure?
Kamza, the awards are not going to please everyone. That's my take.
There's your answer. There's your answer.
Yeah, I hope it's not mail-in, because you know we're hearing on TV all about these mail-in votes that they're not right. You know.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's it. Simple answer, guys. They're not going to be able to please everyone with these awards. Always going to be, you know, what if and what about this person? What about that person? It's just the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast.
It's Man of the Match awards. It's Bafana selection. You can't. It's awards.
Football.
It's football.
Yeah, no, because look, like I had said earlier, there were awards which were very tight today. You know, it could have gone either way. You know, but even if the other one had won, there will still be questions.
Of course. The other people
You know,
were happy that the person won tonight would have been unhappy if they hadn't won tonight. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, this game is incredibly cruel. One of my favorite footballers, really favorite footballers that I've ever seen, didn't get selected for his team once last season. Okay, but he's really a personal favorite, and I love this boy. And he didn't. He made one appearance off the bench for his team, and that is unfortunately the way it is, because the coach preferred a different player ahead of him.
Yeah.
And
you know,
every day I wanted to ask the coach, why aren't you picking my favorite player? And I can't, because that's his choice. You know, if I'm the coach.
You know, I will tell you, because sometimes over time, with experience, we get to learn about these things, you know, and get to understand them better and analyze them better, you know. I think it was around 2009 going to the FIFA Confederation Cup, and they omitted Richard Henyekane, the late Richard Henyekane from the squad, and he was free scoring at Arrows at the time. And I remember I was in a presser, I couldn't understand it. And, you know, I was asking questions, I was hammering, and Coach Pizzo was an assistant at the time, and he couldn't believe it. He was an assistant to Santana, you know, and they gave their responses, and I'm like, And I remember I was even interviewed on radio, and I was hammering. Come the tournament. Remember, this is Kilampela was selected, and he had not been playing Kilampela, you know, but he was selected over Henyekane.
Right.
But remember, he already had a European experience from Strasbourg, you know, and he was a different type of a striker as compared to Henyekane, you know, and he had some presence. Now the rest is history in terms of what Kilampela did in that Confederation Cup.
Sure.
Remember, he's rocket at Rustenburg, you know. So over time, I've learned to, when it comes, yes.
Trust it. Don't always agree with it, but trust it.
Yeah. I don't always agree with it, especially when it comes to, you know, even with the national team, we always, because with the national team, there's 3 of us. Yeah, we can even bring Spiwa to be back here and say, there's 4 of us. Here's a notepad, here's a pen. Can you please give me your 23-man squad for Bafana Bafana?
Sure.
And we'll see if it will be the same.
No chance.
It wouldn't. Of course not. We'd all have
no chance.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, before I let you go ahead of the weekend, obviously, opening of the new season, I'm a bit bummed that the big game between Chiefs and Sundowns is coming now. I don't like these big games so early on in the campaign because both teams haven't really gotten going yet, and it's maybe. I mean, maybe we'll be lucky and they'll have some steam and because it's early on and go for it. But what are you expecting from what essentially are amongst two of the challenges for the new season?
Sure. I think it's going to be the game of the weekend,
Sure.
but not necessarily for the reasons that, like you're mentioning, that we would all like it to be. But it is we're going to see, I think, a little more Gavin on Chiefs. He's got a few more players available. It's also it's just going to be also interesting to see if any of the players that Sundowns have brought in are going to be different from the game, especially because they lost against Celtic.
Yeah.
Sometimes that already starts a bit of a not panicky situation, but you start making changes because you think something went wrong. And let's be fair. I mean, all they did was not score for most of that game until Celtic scored. Then Celtic woke up. But the truth is that it's gonna. I'm looking forward to see what two new technical teams do with what is going to be. It's a new start.
Yeah.
There are quite a few interesting little games that might not necessarily produce good football that I'm also interested in, like TTM versus TS Galaxy.
Sure.
That I have no idea what to expect. So that's quite kind of fun.
I think TTM will win that one. I put my neck out. I think
TTM will win
against TS Galaxy.
Okay.
Why? You see, I'm a huge Dan fan.
Game, yeah, I think because I agree they were in disarray admin-wise, but having watched that game again, there's something there. Those players just need to gel. And I think having that one game to say, okay, guys, this is what we are.
Where's the game? Is it in Toyando?
Where is that game?
I'll check for you now. Because I'll tell you what. One of the things I think it caught up with the Super Sport there in the second half was the heat. Yes. And you can see, and that game, remember, it didn't even start at 3:30. It started at 3,
Right.
because in the second half, they could hardly run,
Sure.
And these guys, they were coming hard at them,
Sure.
So I think that's going to be very important on what's going to happen. I will tell you, I'm interested to see the teams which were battling relegation last season as to how they are going to start. Baroka, for starters. Baroka have had issues with their coach.
Sure.
And now the coach is not there, and not sure if they are trained by someone. Maybe he's got a D license, I don't know. But, but look, there's someone that I trust in that technical team who's there. I will not mention his name.
Yes.
Not the assistant coach, But, and we must do better in this. We must have credible and qualified coaches at this level. So there
is there any truth to the fact that the coach who's been put on suspension, I guess, was being disrespectful to his colleagues? That's why they had to kind of put him out. I mean, I'm hearing conflicting stories, and some of them kind of make sense as to why he might have been put on ice, but it can't be, in a self-defeating move ahead of a brand new season.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm with you there. Because whatever the issues were, those issues should have been dealt with internally. And I don't understand why that process would take this long. Somebody was telling me that maybe they've been given the caretaker team has been given some few matches to see how it goes. Because for me, I don't understand. I don't understand why there would be a situation where, because the DC process is controlled by the club.
Right.
If they wanted to deal with it quickly, they could have done that long time ago, you know. And you don't want also to have a situation where the team doesn't start well, and then now you bring him to come and sort out the mess, you know. You know. So, but look, sometimes. Yes, I hear what you're talking about of the coach, maybe disrespecting his technical team. But there's always two sides to a story.
Sure.
You know, so we should also look at that one as well. So, in terms of the matches, I'm interested to see this team that are battling relegation. I'm interested also to see Swallows. They've signed a number of players.
Sure.
How's the squad coming together? You know, I felt Amazulu have also signed very wisely, balanced signings that they came up with. You know, but in terms of coming together as well, most of the players arrived only this week there. Can we really expect some of them to hit the ground running against Paris this week?
For sure.
I'm not sure, you know.
I think the beginning of a season is always great because there's actually 16 teams I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah.
Being in the Cape, I'm really and I'll be honest, this is the first time I have spent an off season not watching friendlies, because obviously we've not been allowed to go to certain things with COVID and all of that. So by now I would usually have seen teams quite a lot, and not just the teams that are like Cape Town City and Stellenbosch, but also teams they would be playing against.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, not this season, obviously, but Bidvest Wits used to come down to Cape Town a lot, or Highlands Park used to come down. So, and well, they're not coming down anymore, either of them. But so it's going to be a nice surprise to see how those teams have developed. And like Stellenbosch, I'm very interested to see, because they've really built a really good little foundation, and I think made some good signings ahead of the season that has strengthened them in some ways. Cape Town City is interesting as well, because like Velile said, there's some exciting youngsters like Gaka and Terence Mashego, who I really want to see. But they've also lost a lot of players, and players we forget that they lost because they left during the bubble, like obviously Roland Pucha, a bigger name, but Chris David also left. Obviously Mtembu and Noradin, these guys left in January already. And Sage Stevens also left, and obviously Kermit's now gone as well. So there's a lot of interesting things to see develop at a lot of these teams where there's been quite a few changes.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I can't wait to see some of the boys who did well in the bubble as well. Ashley Dupree at Stellenbosch.
We've got to wait a week for him though, because he's suspended.
He's suspended, yeah, and also Lele Tuskelem as well. I've always, because maybe I know the people who's in charge of his services, who manages his career. So
Leletu.
Yes, Leletu, yes.
And he's so exciting, because 3 years ago he was playing amateur football, and to see how much he's developed in 3 years is incredible.
Yeah. I see there's been a question around Swallows betraying their NFT players and not renewing their contracts. That one is always
NFT renewal.
Yeah. Because look, last season things were different. If you looked at Highlands Park when they were promoted, OTG was very clear that he's not going to discard his squad. And he kept the bulk of his squad.
Sure.
Same goes for Stellenbosch. They didn't start well. They were struggling. But in the second round they picked up.
Yeah.
And in the bubble they finished well, in my opinion. So, but also there are those like you see with Swallows. I think from their squad last season they left only 13 or 14 players, and they released the rest. And now I think they've signed 14, if not more. So let's see, because it's also about, because sometimes it's not about just the experience only. You want to mix the experience, but also with the element of hunger as well.
Yeah.
One team, one team I cannot understand how they've put it together, because the squad is not balanced there. Yes, I'm taking nothing away from their second half performance last week. You know, look, there are some good players, but I don't think the Chakuma squad, in my opinion, is balanced. You know, so maybe they still need to try and do something there. I see that they are everyone's relegation candidates, but they can still surprise us. They can still surprise us.
I think so.
But one thing I can tell you, I see my neighbor here, Tabo. I know that he's a big Sundawana fan. He's already saying Chiefs will finish outside the top 8.
Yeah.
Maybe he's afraid. Saturday is here.
Visa, I think you make good points about Swallows, but like having watched a lot of Glad Africa Championship football this season, I think no matter whoever won that league was going to have to sign players. No one looked like a premiership team. And it's always unfair on the players that help you get promoted. Yeah. But you know, sometimes you qualified for the world title fight by beating somebody who was a lot easier than the world champion. And that's what's happened is that they're going into a league where they needed to improve their squad. I'm delighted for the old guys that they kept, because I was worried that they discard a lot of them as well. Yes, you know, but they're good squad players to have. A lot of the squads, I think, are like what V said about TTM. That's what I've always find interesting is that when a team signs 4 left wingers and 5 right wingers and they all look good and you think, oh, this is exciting, but then you realize they've got 1 centre back and they're playing a midfielder who converted to a right back at centre back. And, you know, that's my concern. I did see TTM announce some signings this week that were supposed to be joining. We'll need to see if they arrive, because last week they also announced a few players who have since been unveiled at other clubs.
For sure. It's going to be interesting. You're right. They have until the end of November, guys. I guess there's still a lot of movement that can still happen as far as the transfer window is concerned. And by then, we'll have had some games for teams also to see where they might need to reinforce and maybe strengthen before that window gets slammed shut. But yeah, I mean, all eyes will be on the weekend, the opening weekend, and we'll be able to reflect and then come on Monday.
Yep, very interesting fixtures, I have to say. I know that all eyes are at what's going to happen at FNB Stadium afternoon, Saturday, but there are some interesting fixtures all over the country. So let's see what the different coaches and players have got in store for us. But most importantly, tomorrow, Wydad Casablanca is in Alexandria, Bok El Arab Stadium. Pizzo returns to that venue after having won his maiden CAF Champions League title there, you know. But this time around, there's a different mission.
For sure.
In Egypt, he's called the 9th man. And the 9th man is that elusive record 9th Champions League title. So to the 9th man and the undisputed, most successful coach of the PSL, James Mosimane, we are with you.
For sure. We wish him all the best. All the best. Yeah. And on that note, gents, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to you two who's been on YouTube, who's tuned in. Rob, we're going to do our best to get you up to Joburg so you can join us in the fancy dress studio so you can wear a jacket. Velile, I'll catch you on Monday. The people behind the scenes, of course, the speech or handling things and getting us all your thoughts.
Yeah, he must come through. He must come through during the international week. He must come through. There's a Safja AGM is coming. He must come through.
Okay, we'll make Thank you to everybody who's been participating via YouTube and, of course, on Twitter, where you might have seen us as well. Thank you. We'll catch up on Monday. Enjoy the opening weekend of the new season. We'll, of course, try to reflect on it as much as possible in the hour that we have on Monday on Soweto TV. Do join us for that, too. From myself, Kamza Mbatha, and from Rob and Velile, take care.
Thank you.
Nice one.